I'm Jada Franton and this is my weekly roundup. You may recall from one of my roundups earlier this year a guy called NAZIR AHMED. For those of you who don't, allow me to jog your memory. If you're wondering where you've seen that guy before, he's the former Labour politician, the first Muslim life peer, based in East Bawtry Road, Rotherham, and the guy that's due to stand trial in July after being charged with indecently assaulting a boy, 2 counts of attempted rape against a girl under 16, and buggery against the same boy aged under 11. That guy. Lord NAZIR AHMED was due to stand trial in July for those alleged sickening acts against innocent children, along with his 2 brothers, Mohammed Farouk and Mohammed Tariq. However, a judge has ruled this week that 68-year-old Mohammed Farouk of Worrygoose Lane, Rotherham, who is charged with 4 counts of indecent assault on a child, is unfit to plead. Judge Jeremy Richardson QC told the court he had reached the unhesitating conclusion that Mr Farouk would not be able to instruct lawyers. Sheffield Crown Court was told that Mr Farouk would not be able to follow details from truly ages and ages and ages ago. The other brother of Lord NAZIR AHMED, 63-year-old Mohammed Tariq of Gerrard Road, Rotherham, is charged with 2 counts of indecently assaulting a little boy. He has also been declared unfit to plead. So, he and his older brother will face a so-called trial of the facts with no verdicts of guilty or not guilty open to the jury. I'm sorry, but I think you would remember sexually assaulting a little boy, even if it was truly ages and ages and ages ago. I don't know who is worse, the men who were on trial for these depraved predatory acts, or the judiciary for accepting the bullshit excuse that these men wouldn't be able to remember if, when they were young men, they did in fact sexually abuse a child. This is yet another example of the British judiciary failing the victims of child sexual exploitation by sending the message that if you didn't report it as a little child, don't bother reporting it as an adult. As it stands, Lord NAZIR AHMED is still due to stand trial on the 13th of July this year. I'll keep you informed. The country has been told to step outside their houses each week and clap for our carers. This started with just the NHS workers, but then expanded to include all key workers who have kept going through this national crisis, whilst the rest of us are under house arrest. From doctors and nurses to bin men and shop assistants, only those deemed to be key workers by the government are actually allowed to continue doing their job. Meanwhile, unemployment has doubled in the UK, with more than 1.4 million new claims for benefits since the middle of March. That's just 1 month ago. So, whilst the majority of the population feels helpless and in need of a token gesture that reaffirms some sort of control over their lives, they do as they've been told to do by the government, and every Thursday at 8 p.m, they stand outside their houses clapping and cheering and banging pots and pans for those still fortunate enough to have a job to go to. At a time when people are being fined for leaving their houses, the government clearly recognised the significance of such a menial act, giving people the false impression that the people and the state are all in this together. A welcome distraction each week to take people's minds off the fact that they have literally been stripped of their liberty, and so far, it has worked a treat. Of course, the authorities are therefore willing to relax all of the social distancing regulations that they claim are essential to save lives, by encouraging people to stand in large groups cheering and clapping, including outside hospitals. The police, who keep insisting that we must all obey the new rules or we will face a fine or prison, also have no problem joining in with these mass gatherings, which were banned last month. That includes the Metropolitan Police Chief, Dame Cressida Dick, who took part in a mass gathering on Westminster Bridge, where she can be seen clapping and cheering for herself and her fellow key worker officers. would seem that the entire country is allowed to flout the new rules provided they are partaking in this specific event. Then look what happens. In what I can only describe as possibly the most outrageous and provocative piece of anti-British propaganda I have seen, a video was released with a bunch of foreigners looking into the camera and gloating to Brits that our proud nation is gone and we clap for them now.
So, it's finally happened.
That thing you were afraid of.
Something's come from overseas.
And taken your jobs.
Made it unsafe to walk the streets.
Kept you trapped in your home.
A dirty disease.
Your proud nation gone.
But not me.
Or me.
Or me.
Or me.
No, you clap for me now.
You cheer as I toil.
Bringing food to your family.
Bringing food from your soil.
Propping up your hospitals.
Not some foreign invader.
And the village driver.
Teacher. Lifesaver.
Don't say go home.
Don't say not here.
You know how it feels for home to be a prison.
You know how it feels to live in fear.
So you clap for me now. All this love you are bringing.
But don't forget when it's no longer quiet.
Don't forget when you can no longer hear the birds singing.
Or see clearer waters.
That I cross for you.
To make lives filled with peace.
And bring peace to your life too.
Come, all you Gretas.
You Malalas.
You immigrants.
See what we have learned.
It only takes the smallest thing.
To change the world.
My response to this video was, and remains, my nation will never be gone. This foreign virus imported by visitors to my country just reaffirms the need to close our borders. Something as outrageously divisive as this video can only be designed to do one thing, and that is to spark a negative reaction. Whilst we're seeing video after video of large groups of immigrant communities completely disregard the regulations that are so stringently being applied to the rest of us, up pops a video in which the indigenous people of this nation are being told to remember what us immigrants have done for you. It should come as no surprise that the usual woke bunch of out-of-touch celebrities were absolutely fawning over this video. You know, the people who are from the most privileged of backgrounds, whose exposure to immigrants is pretty much limited to the token black or Asian kid that was fortunate enough to attend the same private school that they did. Unlike me, they did not have to grow up on the streets of southeast London, where entire towns have been completely colonised, where gang culture is rife, and where, if you weren't in some way a victim of child grooming, you are in a minority. Yes, that side of the wonders of mass immigration was conveniently left out of the video. Whilst a load of guests in our country gleefully declare that something has finally come and taken our jobs and made our streets unsafe, they fail to mention the fact that our streets have not been safe for decades. Thanks to mass immigration, the children of this nation have been unsafe and suffering horrific abuse for years and years and years. But there is no mention of that in the video. It doesn't suit their narrative. Luckily though, a video was shared this week that shows how these immigrants do view the child grooming scandal that has destroyed the lives of... That's the same guy that features in the race-baiting You Clap For Me Now video, making jokes about the systematic targeting, rape and torture of predominantly white British children by predominantly Pakistani Muslim men. And of course, this was a Channel 4 production. You can always rely on Channel 4 to give a platform to the most racist, anti-white, anti-British mouthpieces out there. So I will continue to clap for no one. I will continue to highlight injustices inflicted upon my own people and the two-tier policing that clearly favours the non-Indigenous folk living in our country. I am grateful to all of those of you out there who are holding the fort whilst the rest of us are confined to our houses. I hope you all stay safe, and I hope the rest of us will be allowed to join you soon. The most targeted man in the entire world, the man who is subject to slander and defamation on a daily basis, the man who, despite hourly attacks from the left-wing media, both home and abroad, gets up each day and gets on with the job at hand, has been giving the mainstream media a taste of their own medicine. In a stroke of genius, President Donald Trump subjected the lamestream media to 3 minutes and 32 seconds of hell this week.
Back onto the reason we're here, which is the success we're having. Okay? Please, you could put it on. Thank you.
People should be more concerned right now with the flu in this country.
A lot of people are concerned about the coronavirus because they're hearing a lot of news about it right now. But the reality is, comparing it to the flu, for example, it's not even close to being at that stage.
What if it is worse? Is this a moment where maybe countries put politics aside, a little bit of pride aside, and do we have U.S. officials, should U.S. professionals such as yourself get involved?
How worried should Americans be about coronavirus?
Coronavirus is not going to cause a major issue in the United States.
Well, we've asked them to accelerate whatever they're doing in terms of a vaccine. We will be suspending all travel from Europe to the United States for the next 30 days. To unleash the full power of the federal government in this effort today, I am officially declaring a national emergency. Medicare patients can now visit any doctor by phone or video conference at no additional cost.
The first 1 million masks will be available immediately.
As there were more cases, and it was clear that it was spreading out of China, where it originated, the president took this move that he was widely criticized for by Democrats and even some Republicans at the time, which was he halted a number of flights from China into the U.S. The idea was to halt the spread of the disease, keep transmissions to a minimum. He was accused of xenophobia. He was accused of making a racist move. At the end of the day, it was probably effective because it did actually take a pretty aggressive measure against the spread of the virus.
His team is on it. They've been responsive late at night, early in the morning, and they've thus far been doing everything that they can do, and I want to say thank you, and I want to say that I appreciate it.
He returns calls. He reaches out. He's been proactive. We got that Mercy ship down here in Los Angeles. That was directly because he sent it down here. 2,000 medical units came to the state of California, these FMS, these field medical stations. And that's been very, very helpful.
The president has been outstanding through all this. The vice president's been outstanding. Members of the coronavirus task force, very responsive.
We had asked if we could have, New Jersey could have access to a piece of the beds that are on the USNS Comfort, and the president came back, called me a short few minutes before I walked in here to say indeed they would grant that to New Jersey. So that's a big step for us in addition to all the other capacity. That news is literally hot off the press, and I thank the president and vice president who are on the call together.
President Trump approved Arizona's request for a presidential major disaster declaration. I want to thank the president for a quick turnaround. We requested this on a Wednesday, and we had approval by Saturday morning. And we are grateful to the administration for their continued support and responsiveness.
Well, first of all, I want to thank the president and the vice president for doing a really good job of communicating with all the governors.
So we could give you hundreds of clips like that from governors, including Democratic, or Democrat as I call them, governors, which is actually the correct term. We could give you hundreds of clips just like that. We have them. We didn't want this to go on too long, but I just want to say it's, it's very sad when people write false stories.
The reaction was incredible. So triggered were these fake news peddlers that they openly admitted that they were not going to allow the good people of America to hear what their president was saying because it wasn't what they wanted him to say.
Our special coverage continues. We are going to avoid airing any more of this White House briefing until it returns to what it was supposed to be, which was the coronavirus task force providing medical information. What we just saw, I want to be very clear with viewers, was a video the White House put out which suggests they are spending their precious time right now making videos that defend the president's record and tenure rather than provide the much-needed emergency medical information that was promised at these daily briefings.
The media mob are literally comfortable enough to tell the free citizens of the United States, we are censoring your president because he's saying stuff we don't want you to hear. Because of course, the biased mainstream media knows what's best for us and should therefore have complete control and manipulation over what message we get to hear and what gets censored out. Imagine having to endure the ridiculously biased questions that come out of the mouths of these traitors on a daily basis. It must be enough to make you want to stay in bed. But each day, President Trump wades through the garbage and publicly calls out the trashy reporters for their outright lies. It isn't just the media that Trump has been calling out publicly this week. He announced his decision to defund the World Health Organization.
Today, I'm instructing my administration to halt funding of the World Health Organization while a review is conducted to assess the World Health Organization's role in severely mismanaging and covering up the spread of the coronavirus. Everybody knows what's going on there. American taxpayers provide between $400 million and $500 million per year to the WHO. In contrast, China contributes roughly $40 million a year, and even less. As the organization's leading sponsor, the United States has a duty to insist on full accountability. One of the most dangerous and costly decisions from the WHO was its disastrous decision to oppose travel restrictions from China and other nations. They were very much opposed to what we did. Fortunately, I was not convinced and suspended travel.
The US contributes nearly a quarter of all member state dues for the World Health Organization. That's between $400 and $500 million a year. So isn't it only right that the biggest contributor by a landslide should be in a position to hold the organization to account? The same organisation that in January tweeted that China found no evidence of human-to-human transmission of COVID-19. The same organisation that said it does not recommend any travel or trade restriction at the end of January and even repeated that on the 29th of February, stating, in general, evidence shows that restricting the movement of people and goods during public health emergencies is ineffective. That advice, which was given an entire month after President Trump announced he had banned travel from China, was quite simply wrong. We are now being told that the virus is so highly contagious that we must all stay in our houses whilst our economy totally collapses. And why? Because we welcomed the virus into our respective countries off the back of the advice of the World Health Organization that it could not be transmitted human to human and that we should therefore not ban any travel. I support the President's decision to halt the funding of this organisation whilst there's a full review into its mismanagement of this global pandemic. Maybe this will teach these globalist institutions that they are not infallible and that at least one man has the courage and integrity to hold them to account. The coronavirus pandemic has brought out the many faces of people, some good, some bad, and some just downright ugly. A heartwarming display of what good can come out of a very bad situation are the actions of 99-year-old World War II veteran Captain Tom Moore. Tom Moore set up Tom's 100th birthday walk for the NHS page on Just Giving. He hoped to raise £1,000 to help the NHS during the coronavirus crisis by doing 100 laps around his garden with the help of a walking frame before his 100th birthday at the end of the month. Captain Moore has broken the record for the fastest growing campaign on Just Giving, as well as the largest total amount raised on the platform, which has reached over £25 million. In stark contrast to this act of heroism, we have those who, despite being in positions of extreme comfort and wealth, are taking to social media to have a public meltdown. Whether it's Piers Morgan and his scaremongering hysteria or Sam Smith and his pity parties, these people are menaces. I don't care whether they claim to have mental health issues or not. The fact is, they are able to reach and influence a vast audience online, many of whom will be youngsters. Does the likes of Sam Smith really think that young, impressionable kids who are also locked away in their houses need to see him having a breakdown on the steps of his 5-bedroom Grade 2 listed luxurious home in London? I don't care if it's real or a joke. The whole country is facing hardship, although most of us don't have the luxury of several million to fall back on. I've said it before and I'll say it again. You can really tell the measure of a man by the way he behaves in a crisis. I may not see eye to eye with this man on many issues, but fair play to Ricky Gervais for, once again, calling out these self-centred celebrities who have been complaining about how difficult it is being locked down in their mansions with swimming pools.
Who's whinging? Well, celebrities. Millionaire celebrities. I'm stuck. I'm stuck in my mansion. I'm fed up. There's only so many times I can go for a swim. I'm sad. I'm not on the telly every night. Fuck. And if I see another article with a Hollywood actress going makeup free. The fuck? Oh. Right, yeah. We're all chipping in, aren't we? Makeup free. Fucking hell. You see pictures of nurses when they take their mask off at the end of a 20-hour shift. Bruises, fucking welts, fucking... Oh, God. Oh. But some millionaire celebrities are a bit fed up. Fucking hell. Anyway. Cheers, everyone. Fucking hell.
From Sam Smith crying like a girl, to Naomi Watts posting a video of herself having a meltdown captioned, "When your printer, vacuum cleaner and dishwasher all break in the same day." Oh, that's terrible. Imagine being stuck in a $6 million ocean view home with a swimming pool in the Hamptons and having to wash your own dishes. Honestly, I don't know how she's coping. Then you have Ellen DeGeneres claiming that lockdown is like being in jail.
One thing that I've learned from being in quarantine is that people, this is like being in jail, is what it is.
I don't know if I'm missing something here, but I'm pretty sure Ellen DeGeneres has never been to jail. So, as someone who was thrown in jail for exposing a gang of child rapists, I can tell you firsthand that this is not what jail looks like. These people are so out of touch with reality that they even lack the most basic self-awareness to not complain about being stuck in their lavish homes. Meanwhile, back in the real world, you have those who have very little making a big difference. A 99-year-old man doing laps in his garden. Men, women and children volunteering in their local communities, delivering food to the vulnerable and those in need. These are the selfless acts that will get people through this crisis. Not tears and self-pity from the uber fortunate, but the humble acts of kindness from those who genuinely care about their people. If you are based in the UK and are interested in becoming a community assistance volunteer for the British Freedom Movement, helping those who are vulnerable and in need in your local community, you can sign up by visiting www.jadafranson.online/help. or by clicking the link below this video. The UK is about to enter week 4 of lockdown, and I think it's time for some real talk. I have made no secret of the fact that I am very concerned about the loss of my civil liberties and those of my fellow Britons. At the start of this lockdown, I predicted an abuse of police powers, and sadly they have lived up to my expectations. I've said all along that I care very much about protecting our elderly and vulnerable. And I have been adhering to the government's new regulations, but my fellow people of Britain, take a look around us. Across the country, people are being fined, threatened, arrested for crimes that do not exist. I would like you to watch the following video, which contains very strong language, but I think it's important that I let you hear it uncensored so that I can articulate my point. Here it is.
Right. Listen to us.
Well,
We've had a call, haven't we? Because we want to come, otherwise there might be something going on here, so
Right.
we need to double check. I appreciate what you're saying about social distancing, so I'm keeping the distance.
Now, fuck off.
Right, so we need to check the room to make
Go,
sure
go,
nothing's
go,
going on.
go.
Right. What's your
Stay
name?
away from me.
What's your name?
Don't matter.
Well, we're going to be finding out anyway.
What are you doing in my house? What are you doing in my house?
I have just explained to you.
What are you doing in my house?
I've just explained to you why we're here. We've had a call that there's a disturbance, that's why we're
Right,
here.
what, so you kicked me door in?
Should you have opened the door?
No.
We've explained that to you.
No, I told you why I wouldn't open the door is because of what is going round this virus now.
Right.
Fuck off
Right.
and get out of here.
One time size
Look
fine.
at you. You might have it. Fucking do
One
it.
time size fine, everything's alright.
Go away. Come on. Get in here, dickhead. Go on, have a look.
We're just checking.
Have a look, dickhead.
Alright.
Yeah. No going on in here, is there? So what you been putting me door through for then?
We told you.
Fucking do one. You're fucking pathetic. Get out of here.
Have you got any reports?
You've absolute disgrace. And you got all else to do. You've put my fucking door through.
Yeah, we have.
I hope you're gonna fucking. What are you gonna fucking do to that?
Have you got any reports?
Oh, shut your fucking mouth, you fucking brain dead cunt.
we'll be going
Get
out.
out. Fucking paid, what, 20 grand a year to be a fucking knobhead? Fuck off. Get out. Of my fucking house. Get the fuck out. Lot of you. Bye. Bye. Fucking idiots. Broke me fucking door. Look at the fucking state of this. Huh? British fucking police. Look at the fucking state of it. You fucking knobheads. Fuck my life.
Here is another video filmed in Finsbury Park in London where a journalist is surrounded by police who are shouting that he is killing people.
You ask my opinion.
You're part of the problem. What do you mean?
I'm not. Right.
Mate, stop videoing and move on.
Excuse me?
You're on the blue. Essential journeys only.
Yeah, I was going for a walk.
Leave the area, please.
Mate, I'm a journalist. I was going for a walk and I saw some police.
Unless you're exercising.
Yeah, and I am exercising. And I'm a journalist and I saw someone get in a conversation with the police.
Can you go over there and
That's all screaming and shouting at me. And I was exercising.
Carry on exercising.
I was, and then sorry, mate, I'm a journalist.
Yeah, it doesn't
You can see my
matter. It
press
doesn't
card.
matter.
I was walking past and saw an incident,
We've
so I
been told
stopped
and
for a
advised to
second.
leave.
I appreciate that, and I was exercising.
Listen, can you leave?
And I don't need to be surrounded by.
You're either exercising or you go indoors.
So I was
look, video
exercising.
me, look, Sergeant Gary Brown,
Yeah.
3058U, go home.
Can we just stay 2 meters
Go
away?
home.
I'm trying.
Go home.
Go home or you get fined.
Go home now.
You're gonna find me.
Yes.
I'm asking. I don't understand. I was walking past. I'm a journalist. I saw an incident.
I don't care
I
what
wanted to
you
make
are.
sure it was okay.
Go home.
I was. Hey, you're all very close
You're
to me.
killing people.
I'm not.
Go
I was going for a walk.
home.
You're coming
Can you
close
leave
to
the area,
me.
please?
I'm trying to. I'm now surrounded by
go on then.
5 people.
Off you go.
Right,
Goodbye.
thank
3058U, Gary Brown.
Yeah,
Bye.
thanks, mate.
Goodbye. Thank you. You're saving lives.
You're in the blue. Go home. Go away. Go away now. Essential journeys only. Filming is not an essential journey.
Excuse me, mate.
This is your last.
I'm going.
Go home.
I was just filming, mate. This is my job.
Go home. otherwise
I'm
you'll
not
get
having a
fined.
go at you.
will get a fine.
I appreciate that. I'm not getting in your way, but you can't yell at journalists going about
instructing you.
my
I'm
responsibility.
instructing you to leave.
And
This is
I
your
was
last
walking away
chance.
from
Turn around
you.
and go, otherwise you'll be fined.
Mate,
You're
this
still
is
staying
not going to
here.
look good for you guys. I'm really sorry.
Oh, good.
And finally, take a look at this video of a police officer threatening to fabricate a reason to lock a young man up.
What for? It's Mark, are you harassing me? What for? I haven't done nothing wrong. Tell these, mate. What, go on. Give
No,
me
you've done nothing
wrong.
wrong.
You want to give me the definition of harassment? Give your details.
You want me to go?
Give me the keys. Sit in your car, shut up. And if you want to fucking step to me and put things in your chest out and stuff like that, then fine, I'll lock you up. We'll do that, shall we? I'll make something up. Public order. Screw up to a police officer. Should I do that? Who are they going to believe, me or you? Who are they going to believe, me or you? You can film all you want.
I will do, mate. Don't worry about it.
Show some respect, you like that.
Right, here comes the real talk. I shared these videos on some of my social media platforms earlier this week, and you know what surprised me even more than the content was the reaction of some of my followers. People were actually implying that the man in the first video who had his front door kicked off because the police officer said, and I quote, "There might be something going on here," was somehow at fault himself. I saw people commenting that he should have just complied and allowed the officers to enter and search his home. People said that he should have been arrested for using foul language. I was in shock. If I played you that video and replaced the audio with an old lady saying, "What are you doing here? Get out of my house, leave me alone," the entire world would be horrified. Yet because this guy reacted by swearing and shouting, suddenly people lose sight of the big picture. The big picture being that neither he nor you nor I are obliged to allow the police to enter and search our homes without a warrant, and they certainly are not permitted to boot our front door off its hinges on the basis that there might be something going on here, which, incidentally, after they forced their way into this man's home, they realised there wasn't. The second video I played showed the police surround a journalist who was filming the arrest of a woman walking her dog. The police told the man to stop filming and accused him of killing people. I watched that in complete disbelief. I posted it to my social media channel saying that despite years and years of persecution and harassment by the British police, I always make an effort to be balanced whenever I refer to them, but this video shows nothing more than a gang of bullies who are abusing their positions of power. Once again, to my surprise, I saw people commenting, "Journalists are scum," and "the guy should have just stopped filming and not stood still because that's not exercise." I couldn't believe it. Put aside for 1 minute your personal opinions of journalists. It is not illegal to film in public. In fact, just last month, in March, the government gave key worker status to journalists and broadcasters who are providing public service broadcasting. And given that we are seeing incident after incident of police abusing their powers against innocent civilians, I would say that this journalist could quite comfortably argue that filming an arrest in a park during such a time is public service journalism. But even putting that fact to one side, the guy was surrounded by police. He had a sergeant shouting in his face that he is killing people. He had coppers in full TSG riot gear all around him telling him to leave, threatening to fine him, and he even had police officers inside the parked vehicles joining in and telling him to go home using loudhailers, when in fact there was no legal obligation for him to go home. He was quite entitled to be in that park without being accused of killing people. Then there's the third video I just played. Now, I was convinced that of all the videos I've been sharing, this one cannot possibly receive any sort of justification. The police officer says he will lock the young man up, and when asked what for, he says, "I'll make something up. Who are they going to believe, me or you?" Seriously, a police officer has just threatened a young man on camera that he will have him unlawfully imprisoned, and still some people were commenting on my social media post saying, "Well, we don't know what the guy did. And this is good old-fashioned policing." No, it's not. There is nothing good about this policing. It's draconian in the extreme. Now, I'm not a lefty. I do not need everyone to agree with me at all times. That would make the world a very boring place. But I am imploring the good people of Britain to just consider what you stand for. Millions of men fought, bled and died for us to have the freedoms that are currently being taken away from us. And whilst I understand people may wish to comply with the coronavirus regulations, there has to be a limit. These instances of blatant abuse of police power cannot be justified. If we start justifying that, then we lose all our freedoms. The sacrifice of millions of men will have been for nothing if we just give up any rights we have. Just because there are restrictions in place doesn't mean that we have no freedoms left. Your rights are so important. They are all that stands between us living as free people to us living under complete tyranny like North Korea or communist China. If you've been the victim of an abuse of police powers, or you believe you have been fined unlawfully, please get in touch. I'm offering a free advocacy service to anyone who has fallen victim to this newfound thirst for power that the police simply aren't entitled to. You can report any issues you have experienced to me by visiting www.britishfreedommovement.com or by clicking the link below this video. JadaFranson.online was created to beat the social media blockade and to bring you the news that the mainstream media never will. If you support my network, please consider making a financial contribution towards its running costs by clicking the link below this video.